Welcome to the Veterans Art Partnership, which is a unique partnership between the Alameda County Arts Commission and the Oakland Vet Center. And I'm happy to be here with you. I'm Violet Harlow with the Alameda County Arts Commission. I'm the coordinator of the Veterans Art Partnership. And I'm thrilled to share with you the past, present, future projects, some information, some first steps, and some demos to use some of the supplies. This video is for participants who have received a kit, and there's lots of high quality art supplies that we're going to play with, and we're creating 3 small 6x6 inch canvases. And so this is canvas that's stretched on a stretcher bar, and there are 3 of them, one for the past, one for the present, and one for the future, envisioning not only reflecting on your past, but envisioning where you might want to be in your future. And these canvases use color and shape and words to create sort of a snapshot of the themes of different time periods in our lives. It's helpful to know where we've been and where we are, to think through where we'd like to be. And before we get started, we're going to do what we often do in Veterans Art Partnership workshops, which is in your handout, there is a feelings chart. So we're just going to take a moment to center ourselves and check in with ourselves. So you might, if you feel comfortable, put your one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Just take a breath and feel your feet on the ground, feel grounded. Take a look at the feelings chart, or just check inside what feelings might be coming up. And I say feelings because it could be more than one. We're complex creatures. We've got a lot going on in our lives. And the feelings themselves might even seem contradictory, but we can feel different things about different feelings about different things that are happening in our lives. So just seeing what surfaces, and then also hand on heart, hand on belly, checking in with our bodies, just sensing where is there discomfort or attention, where is there ease. And we do this at the beginning and also at the end to get a sense of where did we start, and after making art, how do we feel. And I also invite you to suggest to your inner critic, our inner critical voice, that they could step outside while we're making art, because we want to have the freedom to play and explore without judgment, bring our mindfulness, check in with our intuitive self to make some of the decisions and reflect on our lives. And so they can just take a break. They can just go outside the door. And the other thing I'm going to suggest is to set an intention for the time that you've set aside to do this. And it could be to play and explore. It could be to try new things. It could be to reduce stress or enliven the spirit, fill our hearts. There's lots of choices. So whatever your intention is for you as you take time for yourself. One of the first things we're going to do is put on our aprons. So you can go ahead and open up your kit. And we're going to do this every time. We're going to put on our aprons because we're working with acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is a form of plastic. It's not like watercolor paint that is water soluble in the sense that it can dilute and just completely wash out. Acrylic paint is plastic and it is permanent, so which is great because it'll works wonderful on canvas, and also wood, glass, rocks. People use acrylic paint markers we're going to use today on, if you see rock paintings. It also means, though, that it's permanent on clothing and on hands. And so we will be wearing gloves. For this first part, though, we're going to work on the handout, and we're going to use our mechanical pencil, which is inside the paint kit. So you're going to pull out your mechanical pencil from your paint kit, and you're going to pull out your handout and look at the first sheet. The first worksheet looks like this, and it has some lists. And these are some brainstorm lists to help get you started when you're thinking about what could be the words that I'm going to use to create that snapshot of what are the themes of that time period in my life. And so you'll notice that there are roles or interests for the top and the bottom words, and feeling or trait words on the side words. And lo and behold, on your brainstorm list, we have roles and interests and feelings and traits. You also have your feeling chart right on the back there, lots and lots of words. But you're not limited to these words. These are really just to see what's surfacing for you, and thinking about your past, present, or future, starting to fill in words that as you look at this list, you're like, yeah, no, that resonates for me for that time period in my life. And so this is the brainstorming sheet to start thinking about themes, words that could function as themes for each of your paintings, and sort of set the stage for that time period in your life. And you're not limited to these words. Whatever words come up, maybe a word on this list makes you think of other words, words that really feel right to you, and the most expressive that they could be. And it's your choice how you use these words, you know, how many, but we used 4 for this example because it's hard to narrow down a whole time period with one word. And so we have lots of parts and lots of roles and interests and feelings that we had, but it's up to you how many words and what words you want to use. So take some time to do that. You can pause the video, take time to do that. And then on the second sheet, you start to narrow it down to 2 role and interest theme words and 2 feeling words for each time period. So you have 4 words. And again, you can choose how many and exactly what those words are, but this is just to give you a cheat sheet. To start narrowing it down from, you brainstormed 3 or more options, and sort of narrowing it down to 2 each. So you have a total of 4 words for each time period. But for right now, we're really going to work on just thinking through one time period. So whichever one really makes sense to you, narrowing down those words. And then thinking about what key colors might you use. If you noticed, we're using an artist trick called the limited palette. And so there are just three colors that make this painting and really pull it together. So we have the blue for the background. We have the orange that is for the words, these lines here, and these key shapes, and these sort of supporting shapes, and then yellow that is the alternating color with those shapes. And you'll see another limited color palette here for the past. The sample for the past is the background here is this yellowish color, this dark yellow color, and then the brown for the words and the shapes, and red for the other alternating shapes. So again, a limited color palette. And so what would be awesome is to think through what are those colors for just one of these sections to start with. And we're going to start with some tests. So the first thing we're going to do is just choose one of those words that you'd like to work with and test out. And we're going to write that word with a marker. So I'm going to start with a word. I'm going to start with the word resilient from this sample. And I'm using orange. So you're just going to pick a word you'd like to work with and pick the color that word feels like to you. And we are going to learn how to use these acrylic paint markers on one of our pieces of paper. And so I'm going to quick share some of the materials in our kit. You have several things that look quite similar. They're all white and they're all the same size, 6 inches by 6 inches. The first one is the canvas that I mentioned, which is stretched on stretcher bars. So this is canvas, stretched canvas, and it's 3-dimensional. And you'll notice you have 4 of those, even though we're making 3 paintings, and it's because we gave you an extra one as a do-over just in case you need it. And then there's a flat canvas. It's the same canvas as this canvas. It's just on a board, very thin board. So it's called canvas board. So this is stretched canvas, this is canvas board. And then you've got a set of practice papers that are paper clipped together. And that's what we're going to start with today. And the first thing we're going to do is, I'm working with the orange, but think of which word you'd like to test out and what color, and then pull out that marker. You'll notice that this marker, some markers are what's called pre-primed, and the ink will be orange for this one all the way down to the tip. But sometimes they come unprimed. And so in order to prime them, I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to switch my camera. All right. So it also has directions on the side. And the first thing it says is to prime it. So you put your tip down and you press. And you can even hear you're depressing that tip into the marker itself. And I'm counting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I take a look and ooh, you see that ink is starting to come down to the tip. So I'm going to shake it, mix up that paint so it's not too liquidy or too thick, and shake it a little bit. I'm going to prime it some more. And there the ink is starting to come out. And it should flow. If it's too liquidy, you want to shake it up a little bit so it becomes a little thicker. And this is basically the dance between shaking it and then priming it. And it should just flow. If it's not flowing, then prime it some more. If it's too thick, then shake it. Do a little bit of both. Now what we're going to do, and just try some different marks, get a sense of how it writes and flows and draws. I'm going to write the word resilient. So I'm just going to write it out for myself. And you might be the kind of person who really likes, I'm just showing you, you can totally freehand it, but I'm marking the halfway point. This is 6 inches across 3 inches. And then I'm counting my letters. Let's see. R-E-S-I-L is the center letter. There's 4 on either side. So I know my L wants to end up around here. I could write it out with pencil, but then I might have to erase it and I might not cover, the paint will cover it up, but I'm going to freehand it because that's who I am. If you want to write it out and really get it exact, you're welcome to do that. But what helps me is just to kind of know where my halfway point is, my halfway of my letter. And this is the same size as the canvas. So I'm going to give a little bit of room there. I'm doing it in all caps. That's comfortable to me. It's whatever is comfortable to you. And there's my L right at the center. And it's whatever writing will be, legible, easy to read with other people and easy for you to write. So go ahead and give that a whirl, and you can try it again. You can try your other words. You can test it out, see what works for you. And I just wanted to, show you that. And so you can play with that. The next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to let this dry. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is I do have paper to protect my table, because again, you want to protect your table from the acrylic paint. The other thing I'm going to show is I'm going to be using these colors. Before I made this sample, I swatched out these colors to test them out. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is look at your worksheet for the colors that you chose, your background color, your color for words and lines, and your color for symbols for one of your time periods. So choose those 3 colors, and then we're going to test them out. And what artists say is we swatch them out. And what that means is a swatch is just a little piece of color to test the colors. In your brush kit, we're mainly going to use our brushes for the background. And we're going to use your biggest brush for this, your biggest flat brush. And the name of the brush is here on the brush. And we've got flat brushes, an angle brush that, lo and behold, the end is at an angle, filbert, which is rounded, and 2 round brushes. We're going to use this big brush. You will want a little bit of water, but it's really just to wash out your brush. It is not to dip your brush in. You want a dry brush. Now with your paint, I'm doing the blue background first. And these are nice small little tubes. And so, well, first of all, mine are already opened. Yours might have a foil seal. And so you just use this, the cap, the end of the cap has a pointy part, and you just use that to break the seal. And then I'm actually going to put just a little bit of paint down on my paper, and I'm making literally a little swatch. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just making a little square. Perfection is overrated, whatever that might mean in the moment. I'm just trying to get some paint, some background paint color on there to test what the colors might look like that I'm testing out. So I'm going to try to get most of the paint off of my brush onto the paper, so I don't have any extra paint. And then while I'm letting this, wonderful thing about acrylic paint is it dries very quickly. It's already drying. But while I'm letting it completely dry, I'm going to start the process of cleaning up my brush. So you just wipe off as much of that extra paint as you can. Oh, my friends, I forgot to demonstrate putting on the gloves. Definitely want to put on the gloves, especially now that I'm working very closely with the paint. So that's very helpful to do, just like with the apron. All right, so I'm wiping off the extra paint, and then I'm using my water I'm just swishing the brush at the bottom and spreading out those bristles, not too hard in order to damage it, but just to loosen up the bristles in the paint. the acrylic paint is plastic, and if it dries in the brush, it will dry plastic and dry those bristles together. So that's pretty good. I've got a lot of the paint off, and I'm going to actually soak it in the water while we're doing the rest of this demo. And later afterwards, I'm going to wash it. And how I wash it is you put some dish detergent or regular soap on the brush, and then I'll move it on my hand, move those bristles. I'll spread the bristles apart and move the soap in between all of those bristles. And then in the sink, I'll press the bristles in the running water, or running water in my hand. I'll do this. So again, to make sure the water runs dry, that I don't see any paint in between the bristles, and then wipe it off to make sure I'm not seeing any paint. If I see any paint, then I'll go back. I'll do the process again. I'll add more soap. The acrylic paint can really hide inside your bristles. So you can't err on the side of too much washing, and really just make sure the water runs clear. You can't see any of it, and that it doesn't come off when you check it on a paper towel. So I'm gonna sit this in the water, and the reason I'm doing that is that whatever paint I haven't gotten off of the brush will not harden because it's in water. Okay, now this is almost ready to swatch out the top colors. So I had thought I would use orange for the words and some of the shapes, and yellow for some of the other shapes. So we're going to test out those colors. And when we swatch it out, we just literally try them out. It doesn't have to be particular shapes. It's just to check the color relationship. Still waiting for the color to dry a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put the orange here. And I'm just going to make a shape. And you see me priming. The paint wasn't coming out easily, and so I primed it to help it come out. And of course, I could shake it because I haven't used it in a minute. Now look at that. It's just so great to see that bright orange on the blue. And so it's a great way to test what would that color look like. Because it's one thing what it looks like in our mind. Now that blue is still showing through, and it's because it's still a little wet. I didn't completely let it dry. Okay. I'm just getting, there's a little blue on the tip, so I'm kind of cleaning it off. And then the other color we're testing is yellow. And it's you're testing whatever those two colors are, your background color that you chose and the other two colors. You're testing to see what do they look like on your background. You're seeing how does the orange and the yellow look. And so you've got this handy dandy just little test if you want to try a different color. If you're like, I'm not sure if these two colors, because we're working with what colors we have in the paint set, what colors we have in the marker set. And so you might want to try another color, and you have room to do that right there. So my friends, those are the first two demos. That's the first part of the project. Beginning to think through themes to create the words, and practicing writing them and working with the acrylic markers, which are so much fun, and also thinking through the colors. What could the possible colors be, and testing them out with our paints and our markers, and swatching them out using these artist tools with artist techniques to create our miniature paintings. And here at the end, I want to take a moment to check in with your feelings, see what feelings are coming up, maybe jot them down on your handout here, what you were feeling before, what you're feeling now, and check in with your body, see where there's tension or ease, and how things have changed from when we started with this. Also, we like to close with a loving kindness meditation. You're welcome to lay out the things you were working on, the worksheet, your practice marker sheet, and your swatch sheet. Lay them out in front of you and take a moment. And if you feel so moved, you can say these words that I'm saying to your artworks. I see you and I accept you as you are. I meet you with tenderness. I appreciate all you have done for me. Wonderful. So this is an accelerated video, so you might want to go back with these steps, take your time to do each of these steps, work through the worksheets, play with the acrylic markers, try some writing out of the words, dream and envision some colors, try them out with your paints and your markers, and onward. Looking forward to the next steps. So stay tuned for this video series.